Hello there Nektar users, Pooh Bear here and welcome to my Reason channel. Yes, we are looking at the Nektar LX, the P and the T series. Now this is only going to be like a high level overview of these keyboards. I am going to obviously talk a little bit about the controls and the integration. There's plenty of in-depth guides out there on the LX and the P series, not so many on the T series, but at the same time as saying that I actually did a review myself on the T series, so you can just have a look on my channel on that, and I've had very positive feedback. A number of people have said that 20-minute watching that video they learnt more than they did spending 2 hours reading the manual, so thank you very much for them sort of comments. I do appreciate it. This is my Korg T1. It's a fully weighted 88 key keyboard. As you can see, it's got wooden surrounds on it. I bought that back in December 89, so it's nearly 30 years old, and the main reason I'm actually showing you this picture is because I love it so much. No. The main reason I'm showing you that picture is I am actually going to make one or two comparisons when I'm talking about these keyboards and that keyboard. I do own a couple of other keyboards as well, a Roland D70 and a Roland W30. But let's get back onto these. When you go onto the forums, people say, oh, what's the best keyboard for Reason? You see it time and time again, the answer will come up, Nektar, 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 Nektar. And the reason being is they really are deeply integrated into other doors, but into Reason, because this is a Reason channel, it really is integrated. With the simple click of a button, I've now got control of the mixer, yeah. And with the case of the P series and that, I can actually control virtually everything on that channel strip. You know, I can just come in and I can start changing the low pass, high pass filters. You know, I can actually just do all from the keyboard. And then with another click of the button, we're now controlling rack extensions and VSTs. You're slightly limited to how much you control with the LX, but with the P and the T series, you're not limited. You know, I do mappings with these particular keyboards, and some of the mappings can be up to 60-70 pages long, so I've mapped absolutely everything. You look at something like Expanse, we can actually control everything, and same with Respire, that's got a lot of panels going on there, and we can really control absolutely everything from these keyboards. And that's what we talk about, the integration, and it is a simple case of, oh, I'm just going to click this, I'm going to click that, and we can just start twiddling knobs and we've really got the control. So let's actually have a quick look at the control themselves. Let's first of all talk about the keybeds. The LXs they refer to obviously as a synth keybed. The P series is semi-weighted, and the T series is a second gen synth keyboard. The funny thing I think about this particular keyboard especially is they refer to it as second gen, but I feel this is more semi-weighted than my P series, and in fact I would go as far as to say that the feel of this keyboard is definitely on par, if not slightly better, than my Roland D70, which is quite a nice keyboard. But this is, you know, the feel of this keyboard is absolutely great. I do love that. There's nothing wrong with the feel of these keyboards either, and the same with the P series. You hear a number of people refer to there's a clunkiness going on with it. I've never really had that experience. But I do like the feel of that particular keyboard, the T series, out the whole range. So let's actually go on and have a look at some of the controls. The fader throws on the T and the LX, they're exactly the same amount of throw on them. On the P series they have a lot longer throws. That just basically means that you're going to get a little bit more position when you're sort of using them particular faders. The buttons are just basic buttons. The buttons on the P series actually light up when you hit them. There is a light in the middle on the T series which will light up. Preference wise, I just prefer the P series. And I think it'd be fair to say, you know, as I've had this PC, this particular keyboard, you know, like I say, 4 years, whenever they launched it, it's more or less when I got it, so I am a little bit biased towards it. Display, well, I'm going to come back and talk about displays a bit more. This just gives you basic feedback of what you're actually controlling at the time. Gives you loads of feedback. This is coloured, and this display on the P series is so much better, I think, than the T series. Underneath the displays we have what's called X buttons that don't exist on the LX. we have 5 on the P series and we have 4 on the T series. Believe it or not, that one extra button makes a lot of difference, because these buttons are buttons I'm using constantly when I'm using these keyboards, because it gives you, you know, I use them for the navigation to get around different pages, you turn things on and off with them, so to just have that one extra button, it does actually make quite a bit of difference. Then we come over to the encoders themselves. The encoders on the LX range are fixed. They're endless on the P and the T series. Even though they're fixed, they've got a soft takeover, and the faders are standard, are soft takeover, and I know definitely on the T series you can turn that off. So what does this mean by fixed and endless and soft takeover? So let's say, for instance, I've got my rack extension up and we happen to have this knob here mapped out to the volume. If the volume happened to be at 50% and this control happened to be all the way down, as I was turning it up, nothing will happen until I get to that 50% or 63 cc, and once I start turning it up, the volume will start to go up with it. Obviously if I turn it down, the volume will go down with it. That's because, and these are fixed because they stop at 0 and they go all the way up to 127, and that just happens to be like a MIDI standard. These are endless, I can just keep turning them and turn them and turn them, and they go round and round and round in circles. The big difference is, as I say, if we go back to that same volume, which will say set at 50%, as soon as I move this up, it's going to start moving the volume up, and obviously as soon as I start moving it down, it's going to move the volume down. So I don't have to do what's called the soft takeover, find out where the volume is, and then I can start moving it. The great thing about soft takeover, just in case you think, oh, soft takeover doesn't sound good, if you could imagine this control being fully up and I went to that same device and it was on the volume at 50%, just by moving this a fraction would mean it would turn that to absolute maximum. So soft takeover is actually a good thing, and it works quite well. Let's move over onto the pads themselves. You get a nice little set of pads on the LX. I think the pads are quite good for what you got. I think they are. The pads on the T series are a lot bigger, and I'm not a pad person, but since I've had my T series, I've actually started to use the pads quite a bit more. And a lot of people will probably see me use the pads on the T series, and I end up using them for controlling OBS, and I've used them to control, I like to turn channels on and off, so I mute things and that. The pads are a little bit harder. You do get 4 extra pads, and I expect a number of P series users will probably say they'd give up them 4 pads just to have these particular pads on that machine. These are very nice pads, and these aren't too bad. They're a little bit smaller. And obviously we have the transport bars, which work all the same. The big difference again with the P series, we have function keys built in. Unfortunately, if you've got a Mac, you can't really make use of them. If you're on Windows, you can still make use of them. There was once Mac done one of their upgrades or whatever, they just started, didn't work anymore. I couldn't tell you any more on that. I don't use Macs, I'm only a PC person. So the actual feel of these keyboards themselves and the weight of these keyboards is the LX is a really light keyboard. It's that light, you know, you can use one hand. It's a very lightweight keyboard. The P series I will not be doing that with. It is a heavy keyboard, and the reason it's heavy, and I haven't spoken about that yet, is because it's got a motorised fader in it, so there's obviously a lot more gubbins going on, and the T series itself is somewhere in between the weight of the LX and the P series. It's not a bad weight, and I think build quality wise of all these keyboards, I think, you know, they're not bad going. It does make me laugh. You do get one or two, I don't want to call them haters, who will say, God, these are absolutely cheap, rubbish plastic. And I do remember on a couple of occasions where people have actually turned around and said that, and they've bought X, Y and Z keyboard. And the funny thing is yeah, actually X, Y and Z keyboard, they're not a bad keyboard they've actually bought. They've cost like 5 times the amount. Okay, that keyboard, no, it's not really worth 5 times the amount. It doesn't have the deep integration, and it's plastic. So I think the build qualities of these are pretty good. So one thing I haven't spoken about is the pricing. So and all the pricing I'm going to be giving you is going to be in obviously British pounds. And I'm not going off the RRP prices or anything. What I've done is I've done some quick searches onto the internet and had a look and see what we've got. So with the LX, it comes in obviously 4 flavours, as I say, the 25, the 49, the 61 and the 88 keyboard. As I said, the 88 keyboard is that special keyboard, and it's the one I do recommend to obviously if you want to do performance stuff. There's nothing wrong in having a P6 or having a T6 to do performance stuff on. I was just saying it is a slightly special keyboard in the LX range. Now, the average price for a 25, the LX 25, is around about £80. For the 49 keyboard, the average price is £130, and the average price for 61 is £123. It's actually, in a lot of cases, cheaper to buy a 61 than it is a 49. It's quite bizarre, but there we go. And the LX itself actually is right up the other end, around about the 250 mark. Interestingly, I think the LX itself really does hold its value. I think the RRP on that is around about the 299 mark, so it hasn't really come down much. And also, there's quite a good second-hand market for these keyboards. This particular one here, I actually did buy second-hand, and myself, I paid just over £50 for it. Yeah, I had to wait. I did bid on quite a few of them until I got it, and the main reason I bought it second-hand is because I wanted to do some mappings, and I will talk about that in a minute. So I wasn't too worried if the keyboard was going to be a little bit spongy, because you never know what's going to happen when you buy second-hand. Are everything going to work or not work? I've been very lucky, everything does work. It is in very good condition as well. So there's a very good second-hand market for the LX range. Coming on to the P series, obviously we've got the P4 and the P6 being the 49 and the 61 range keyboards. That they obviously start to go up a bit more in price. The average price for a P4 is around about £300. For the P6 it's 400, just over £400, 425. There is a second-hand market for these keyboards as well. They do tend to hold the value. I have seen some P4s go as low as £150. Usually it's a little bit more, and it's very rare you see P6s up, but there is some. Obviously on the second-hand market, on the LX88, it's very rare you see them. The LX88, as I say, seems to be that bit of a special keyboard where you don't get a big second-hand market, and they've held their price really well. T-Series, well, I haven't checked recently, but obviously when I was doing some searching, there wasn't a second-hand market because being a new keyboard out and all the rest of it. There is a couple of places where you can obviously get these, I would say like cheap, but you can pick up the T4 for around about 260 mark, and you can get the T6 for around about the 310 mark. So then that starts to give you a bit of a crossover between a T6 and a P4, because the pricing is very, very similar. One of the things, as I said earlier, was about the displays, and the display on between these two keyboards is, you know, it's night and day. This keyboard display leaves the LX totally behind, but having that colour display and that really does make a big difference. But then going back to the T series, it has got a nicer keyboard and it has got the lot better pads. So let's have a quick talk about mappings. The P series has always had the largest amount of maps, specifically mainly because myself and some others, we manage the mappings. We've done over 700 full maps for the P series, and was it last year or the year before, I released what's called grab maps, over 2,300 grab maps. Then grab maps, and this is one of the reasons I bought this LX, is I've now transposed them over onto the Impact LX range. So I have got up on my Dropbox, it's already there. I was just waiting to do a video to let people know exactly how you install them and all the rest of it and what they really are about, grab maps. They're available, I say, on the LX, and I've also released them on the T series. So both these keyboards now, with either their full maps and the grab maps, they're getting close to about 3,000 maps that they support. The P series does support over 3,000 maps. Very, very quickly, just in case you don't understand what a grab map is. A grab map is, nothing is actually mapped on the keyboards themselves, but all you do is you hold down the shift key, and it might be that I've gone to my instrument and I might move the ADSR. And then all I have to do is let go of the shift key, move these 4 keys, and that's it mapped. It's that simple, you know, you just move these 4, and now I'm controlling the ADSR. And to be perfectly honest, the grab maps really do marry themselves really, really, really well with the LX, because the LX doesn't have that display, and even with their standard mappings, I find myself there looking, going, oh, what am I controlling? What's that controlling? Because I don't know. But with the grabs, I can just grab and say that, then I know exactly what that's controlling because I've just grabbed it. A couple of little quick things. I do remember a number of people complaining about the P series and that the black keys are that much higher than standard. I think part of it is a bit of an optical illusion because of the red strip. It really does. It does. I remember when I got it, I looked at it and thought, oh my God, these keys are standing proud. But to be fair, at the same time, these black keys are more proud than either the LX and the T series. However, I've actually got out my rulers and I measured them, and these are actually just under the height of my T series. Yeah. So they're not really sitting proud, but these are having to be an extra mil or so smaller than or lower than what these actual keys are. Obviously that is a preference thing, what people don't like. The other thing I haven't really spoken about is the good old P1. In fact, I think I'm going to have to unplug that. So I've got that lovely T1. This marries up absolutely brilliant with it. And I think it is actually a great little device. It is everything that the P series, obviously minus the motorized faders and minus the pads. It doesn't obviously have a pitch or bend wheel because there's no keyboard side integration with it, but it is an absolutely fantastic piece of kit. So if you've got yourself a real nice keyboard and you don't want to lose it, marry it up with one of these and you get that real deep integration. And again, I picked this up because I wanted to do the mappings, and the mappings are obviously what I've done for the P series, are also available on the P1. And I picked this up again second hand myself, and I paid 50 quid for that as well. I got that's quite a good little deal, and as I said, I only bought it so I could really do the mappings more than anything else. So my final roundup is, and I'm going to go on record to say this, I actually think that the Impact LX 61 is probably one of the best valued MIDI controllers out there. As I said, I know I bought it second hand for 50 quid, but even at a full price of 125, which you can get it for, and some places, some sales you might get it slightly cheaper. I think what you're getting for that money, it's just so dirt cheap, and it's so good value for money. Now obviously if your budget allows it, we get so much more integration with these two keyboards, and this is where things are getting a little bit more confusing. Which one do we go for? If you're someone who really likes pads, you've got to really start looking at the T series. These pads are absolutely brilliant. You've got to look at that. The keyboard, I said, is really, really nice as well. So if you're into sound design, it has to be the P series. It really, really does. That display makes so much difference. And the funny thing is, and it's probably a little bit harder to see, is this keyboard it's got a slight angle on it. Not a lot, but it's got this slight angle on it, and it just makes it seeing that screen so much easier. But I do wish, and if you're watching Nektar, come on, let's have some flip screens on this so we can actually angle them. Because so many people use their keyboards, not like this, over an actual keyboard stand, they're actually having them on their desks because that's where their doors are, so they're actually sitting back slightly, and you end up having to lean forward to actually see what you really are doing. So that's my final really roundup. These are great if you just want to play keys only and twiddle one or two knobs. These are absolutely brilliant, and also you want to twiddle a few knobs, but if you really want to get into it, it has to be the P series. My current setup, what I use on a daily basis, happens to be this. And that's right, I'm actually using the T series along with the P1. I use the P1, as I say, I only bought it for mapping, but since I got my T series and I moved my P series off my desk, that P's come out, and I use it a lot next to my T series, because I absolutely love playing that keyboard and I love the pads on the T series, but there's something about getting into the way that works, that the P series works, which suits me down to my workflow down to the ground. Okay, that's going to round it up. If not, I'm going to go into waffle mode, which I'm so good at doing. I hope you found this of some use. Thank you for watching. Oh, and I will be releasing, as I say, that video very soon. The legwork's all done, the files are all up in my Dropbox, they're already there for people ready to download, to do with the mappings and the grab. But I said I was going to do a quick video to just show you exactly what the grab mapping is, how much the difference between the way we can do grab mappings and we can do remote overrides, and how to install it and all that sort of thing. But anyway, thank you for watching, and bye for now.